Okay, welcome back. And we're looking at the duo in charge of our defense, Badaru and Matawale. And those are ministers, Minister and Minister of State, respectively. And we're just looking at what can be expected since the minister has said that a much improved security shall be our lot in Nigeria. But then we're looking at some of the challenges involved because it looks as if for most people, Tony just at the very top of the program was saying that you can't travel anyhow you want, like we used to be. That would come for the bandits. And as for the terrorists and all those ideological ones, if one can say, that's a different kettle of fish altogether, because you even have people speaking on their behalf from within the country and trying to be, a go-betweens between government and them. So I don't know, one might say that, stop all of that. A criminal is a criminal. Doesn't matter what badge you put on him. But they say to us, you don't know. If you knew, you would talk with a bit more, caution.
Yes, that's
let's take Reverend Dominic. Okay. Good morning, Reverend Dominic.
Good morning, Chief Jury. Good morning to your guest.
Good morning, sir.
Jury, can I make my humble opinion known?
Please do.
Please
do.
I was traveling a few months ago. I'm traveling on the air, and midway on that air, a woman develops a running stomach. She has a food poisoning. And the pilot had to announce to everybody, do we have a medical doctor here? And there was no doctor. He said, well, can we find a pastor? Well, I showed up. But what I'm trying to say is, we're in aviation, we have emergency. That a big nation like Nigeria, that in the whole Africa, we generate the highest passenger, has no carrier. I think it's done on us that we need an expert in that area to deliver us from that place. We're in emergency. If we have called for an expert in that area we do not have, we must call to somebody close to it, maybe a pastor that happened when I was flying. So I had to pray because there was no medical doctor on that flight. In aviation, we're in emergency. And I believe that Tony agreed with me that a nation like Nigeria, the Ethiopian airline come here to pick us, Kenya airline here to come transport us. Do you know how many billion we can generate if you have our own airline? Do you know how many dollars we will make if we have our own airline? Which means we need an emergency, a person who has a good 100% understanding of aviation. Number two, we know it.
But we had that, Reverend. We had that in the last minister, didn't we?
Yes.
The man was actually a pilot.
Yes, because he couldn't perform doesn't mean we should go to somebody else. He failed and put a mark on his own profession. We still need an expert there to deliver us from that area. I agree with you, sir. We still need an expert. So what I'm trying to say here, the man there now is a good man. The man there now is very intelligent. But civil servant technocrats can put you in a big mess if you're not an expert. I've been there before, Yuri. Civil servants are the problem of Nigeria. Sorry to use that word. Civil servants can give us answer here or be a problem in Nigeria. They know how to work on you if you're not an expert in the field you come from. And Tony can bear me witness that civil servant can mess you around if you don't have a first-hand understanding of what you come to do. In that area of aviation, we're in emergency. We need experts. That's right.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Reverend Dominic. Let me just ask Tony before he goes on to comment on anything else. Isn't Reverend Dominic, although he's not alone in thinking the way he's thinking, aren't they sort of getting it all wrong, saying that the civil service can mess you up? It's not as if the civil service is a mystical order that nobody knows what they're doing.
I said it now.
They're not a mystical order.
No, sir. I said it. That look, the headquarters of corruption in Nigeria is not the political class. I'm sorry to say. It is the civil servant that teaches the politicians where the monies are, how to steal it, how to move it, when to move it, the document to use to move it,
that is
the time to move it.
Assuming that any minister has an interest in that direction in the first place.
If the minister does not have interest, they will teach him. They will give him the interest.
And then
because
it then goes back to the caliber of person that the president puts in charge there.
I agree with you. I agree with you. For now, I'm not going to talk about the character of the people that are there. for now, I assume that they are impeccable.
Okay.
Until they prove otherwise. So let me premise on that rebuttable presumption that they are impeccable. But they must understand that the ministries that they are is the headquarters of corruption.
Yeah.
And whosoever is going to superintend over that ministry must expect that temptation that is almost very difficult to resist. And looking at the pedigree of these people, how are they able to resist such temptation? But that is a rhetorical question.
But Tony,
Uncle Yori.
What you're saying, Tony, isn't it acquired knowledge? I mean, you can't be speaking from personal experience. So it must be acquired knowledge.
Acquired knowledge.
That this is learning. This is things you have learned. I mean, I'm just speaking for those guys.
Uncle Yori, you are in public service. Have you ever related with civil servants in Nigeria before?
No.
Have you done anything in the civil service before?
No.
Nothing?
Nothing.
I think I have done some things in the civil service.
Yeah.
And I can tell you authoritatively that the average Nigerian that have worked in the civil service understand what we are talking about. If the government is interested in battling corruption, the government should take the war right into the civil service.
Okay.
Right into the civil service.
Okay. Mr. Abubakar, in Kaduna, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
And good morning for the wonderful job you are doing in our own country.
Thank you very much.
Uncle Yori, you have a guest and a talented guest because he have touched where my mind is boiling. The real corruption is in the civil service. I worked for 35 years under federal government. And I saw, and we connive, and we even show everybody who is interested in stealing money. Because if a minister comes, he will have a brief with government top functionaries. Those government top functionaries will tell the minister that this is our budget. This is the real budget. This is the inflated budget. This is how we can get the money. And this is what we can use. This is the leftover. If, let's say, for example, a project will cost 1 million naira. It may be the project is only maybe 200,000 naira. They will tell him remain 800,000 naira. And we will now raise a memo for you. You will approve. We will now print every blueprint of the project, and he will approve. Now he will take it to the president. They will now raise water, do everything, steal the money, and those civil servants will defend it. The minister will only take the money. He have no job to do. The civil servants are the one to do everything, defend everything, bring receipts, do everything, clean and clear. Nobody will trace it. So if they want to fight corruption, it is the civil servant, those permanent secretaries, those DGs in parastatal agency, and whatever. That is where the main corruption is. All the money being stolen in this country is being planned, masterminded, and executed by the civil servant. The only thing that they are left with is that they don't get much. It is the ministers that get. And the worst thing that make this to work is this contributory pension scheme. These civil servants, they know they will contribute to their pension. So they will now quickly steal money so that they can be able to sustain themselves, because they know pension under contributory pension scheme does not go anywhere, because it doesn't confide with the inflation in the country. Imagine a civil servant who retired from 2004 up to 2023. His pension is the same. Whether there is inflation or no inflation, if he is collecting 10,000, it is that 10,000 for life.
Mr. Abubakar, thank you very much, Mr. Abubakar, for calling in. Oh dear! Whereas I was able to say to Tony, Tony, it's acquired knowledge. You learned it. Mr. Abubakar is saying that, first of all, I was a civil servant for 35 years. So just put that at the back before you start asking me those kind of questions.
Uncle Yari, You see, I sympathize with Mr. President, but I believe that he is a man that will achieve results at the end of the day.
Indeed.
I'm not pessimistic about his ability to achieve results. He's a chartered accountant himself, and he understands some of these things. So I'm looking forward to the ICPC. That is the ICPC's job, and that is where I see ICPC as a colossal failure. The EFCC is facing politicians. We keep hearing about them every now
for
and then. So we
non-Nigerians,
give
ICPC is something called for corrupt practices.
Yes,
you
know. their main focus are those in public service, civil service. EFCC is for individuals and political office holders and the like. It's understandable. ICPC and Nigerian Orientation Agency, both of them, as far as I'm concerned, they should wipe them away. They should scrap them.
Now orientation is under the Minister of Information.
Let us believe that they will be better, because it's the worst. And ICPC, as far as I'm concerned,
well,
so if they are able to come on,
listening,
yes,
because this is the concept that people. The Minister of Information is a consummate professional himself, so he knows. This is not news to him.
Because for the Orientation Agency, it's supposed to be like a campaign, an advocacy organization that on every topical issue you should be hearing them. Social media, they should engulf social media with almost everything possible. But that's not the issue. For the ICPC, now you see the obvious truth that, look, corruption, the headquarters is in civil service. It's not a subject of debate. You are a contractor, you will know how this thing works. Okay. You have a contract of 10 million. Somebody is saying give you 3 million naira in advance.
Mm-hmm.
You have not even collected the contract before he released the contract paper to you. 3 million in advance.
So those kind of things can happen.
It does happen.
You know, and thanks to Mr. Bubakar who called in, he says that if you were doubting about it, I can tell you I just come out of it. Good morning, Mr. John in Iyanokwaja.
Yeah, good morning. How are you doing?
Very well, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, I think you should just listen very well to guest, Dr. Tony. He's telling you exactly what's going on in the civil service.
And maybe tell us about yourself. How would you know that?
Because I tell you, I've been there, I know what is going on.
With Dr. Tony? Or with the civil service? I just want to know, sir. I need to be quoting the sources of this information we're putting out. So you say you've been there for a while. Are you talking about the civil service?
Hold on and listen. The civil service is more corrupt. And I was there. I know the workings in the civil service.
If you're listening to yourself, please don't. Please talk. Continue. Don't listen to the feedback, the echo. There are too many gaps between your sentences. Oh, I'm just being told that unfortunately we lost you, but at least I can say that Mr. John in Iyanokwaja was going to back up the assertions of not just Tony in studio here, but also Mr. Bubakar, who called in from Kaduna. And again, he's saying that, quote me because I was there. So this is the kind of thing that any minister, never mind the ones we're talking about, the defense ministers, are going to have to contend with. Yeah. So again, I thank you for calling in, John, Mr. John. It's just that it dropped. But two people, one after another, have said that we have spent more than a few days in the civil service, and this is what is going on. And this is actually what is going to help determine the success or otherwise of any of those ministers. But there's the implication in those assertions that the ministers are at the mercy in terms of needing of having to depend on the civil service. The minister himself or herself has, her own circle of knowledge, her own circle of technocrats.
They are seasoned administrators. They've been in government, so it's not new to them. Many of the things that will be happening will not be new to them. So it's a matter of either doing it the same way or doing it differently, their own individual. But I think I want to join myself with Reverend Dominic that was talking about the timeline of 12 months.
Yeah.
That is relatively long. security and security time is of essence, because each security strategy is premised on intelligence. And intelligence is very flexible. Intelligence moves like normal human being. You know, once you are here now, intelligence says you are here now. Now, once this program is over, you go somewhere else. Intelligence has shifted already. So anything that has to do with you now has to be when you are in the studio. Any other, once you leave here, intelligence has shifted. So I think if you are giving terrorists 1 year, you are giving security agencies 1 year to deal with some of these challenges, it's too long a time.
Okay.
Now, but having said so, you must also be talking about position placing. It's a strategy, even in our domestic homes and all those stuff like that. To what extent have you been able to stamp your authority as a new minister, as new service chiefs, either of defense, of Air Force, Navy, or Army? You must be able to establish your own presence in such a manner that they will know that this is different.
Exactly.
It's different.
Because the buck stops at the minister's table.
Very well, very well. So it must be such that now we should be able to say that some kidnappers' hideout, some forest has been dismantled. Now, these are the type of information I want to hear. I want to hear that, you know, just like we're talking about some oil pipelines were discovered that have been siphoning oil for 9 years and we didn't know, and all those stuff like that. Ritual killers then is a major menace in this country. People are being killed and their parts are being sold for whatever reason. It's a major menace. The fact that it has not happened to somebody at the top there does not mean it won't happen one day. So now that you have the opportunity of being in government and you know it does happen on a regular basis, please let there be a rural security program in such a way that you have body that will go to our forests, go to our mountains, go to the streams, combat every shrine that is there. If you are a babalawo and you are inside the forest, let us know why you are inside the forest. If that is your office, register it that this is my office, this is where I work, and I don't use human parts in whatever I do. Go to the caves, go to the mountains.
Security,
There should be rural security.
which tends to be ignored.
Yes,
you know.
It should be a major focus of this government. If this government is able to focus on rural security and build up a special program for that rural security, leave the army and all other security agencies to fill the urban area, have a special intervention network in security to attend exclusively. In short, they don't need to be in town. They don't need to be in this. Exclusively in the forest, in the villages. Let that place be their own office.
How about the
and comb everywhere.
Ebube
Agu
and the
Amotekus and the like. Now, those yes, government can co-opt them, but for government to successfully co-opt them, they must be armed. I'm not talking of barrette. I'm not talking of pump action. I'm talking of assault rifle. Because these people, they don't have license, they are bearing arms. Why are we killing ourselves on the platform of Amoteku must have license, Ebebeagu must have license, and they are killing them on daily basis? Who are you going? Do you give terrorists license? Do you give kidnappers license before they bear such arms? So what is wrong with government intentionally giving arms to Amotekus, giving arms to the Sokoto Marshals and all those stuff like that, to complement the effort of the military and make sure that their own territory is exclusively, I repeat, exclusively in the forest?
You know, I'm going to leave it there, Tony. There's so much going on here, but if I were going to take one thing out of all that has been said on this program, all of which is valuable, hoping that representatives of the honorable ministers are listening, it's that bit about rural security. I mean, treat rural security like we never heard about it before, seems to be what you're saying, and just swamp that place and leave the rest in the urban areas to, you know, the more conventional security forces. Dr. Tony Ofoyeton, DG, International Institute of Professional Security, thank you very much for coming.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Uncle Yori.
Our pleasure. So that's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folare. Bye-bye for now.